I'm Denise. I currently live in Carencro. I've been here for 7 years, originally from the West Bank of New Orleans. I came to CIS to have a scan, and I saw the smoking cessation program brochure, and I picked it up. I liked that it was a group, and I've smoked off and on most of my life, and I quit like about 5 times. And so I said, when I saw that, I said, I really need to quit for good. So I picked it up, requested the information, filled out the paperwork, sat in my inbox, in my email for 2 years. Fast forward to January of this year, I was reading a book my cousin wrote called Recoded. He got addicted to painkillers after an injury. Reading his book, I realized I was addicted. I was an addict. It was just for nicotine. So I knew I needed help. And I came here for an appointment. I knew I needed help. I knew I wanted to quit, but I needed support this time. I wanted to quit for forever. Didn't want to go every couple of years and start and stop. So when I came to Dr. Salvaggio, I inquired about the program. They signed me up. Then Ashley got in touch with me, and we started from there. I probably started as a teenager, and then when I got pregnant, I quit. And then when my husband and I split up, I started smoking again. When my dad had a stroke, I quit, and that's when I quit for 10 years. And then, breakups, my husband passed away, I started smoking again, came here, my son and his wife split up, I started smoking again. So I was like, okay, this has to stop.
Miss Denise, right off the bat, was asking lots of questions as far as how do I be successful in the program? How do I quit for good? Because as she's talked about, she has tried multiple times to quit. She's been quit for, I think, up to 10 years one time. And when emotional events had happened in her life, she had resorted back to smoking. And so she really wanted this to be the final time. And so she was open about her hesitations, all her worries, what she thinks might hinder her from quitting.
I was ready, and I prayed before I started the program. I prayed for no side effects from the medication, which I had none. I had no side effects. And if I could tell someone what to do when you have a plan. I mean, before I started the program, I made sure, and Ashley and I talked about, what are you going to do when you want a cigarette? So I walked, or I crocheted, I kept busy. She suggested that, clean out a closet, or I like to organize and stay busy, so that's what I tried to do. So have a plan about what you're going to do when you want a cigarette, or when you have an emotional event, what are you going to do? And I kept telling myself I was a non-smoker even before. There have been days, I told Ashley recently, there was a day I was a really bad emotional day. On my way home, this little devil voice inside me says, you're passing right in front of the store, you could just stop in and buy a cigarette. So I'm like, yeah, but I'm a non-smoker now, so I'm not going to do that. And there are times when I'll say, this is when I would have a cigarette, but I'm a non-smoker, so I'm not going to do that now.
Miss Denise, in the beginning, especially, was just her insight into herself. She was very aware of her own motivations, her own barriers, what was going on in her head, her thoughts. And so that just made a big difference as far as her ability to really quit and to change her whole outlook on smoking and her whole outlook on life. Something that really stands out about Miss Denise as well was her changing her idea of who she was. Smoking had been a part of her identity for so long, and so she had to change that narrative about herself. She had to say, I am a non-smoker now. And I think speaking that over herself was a powerful tool to get in her mind. You got to tell yourself things a few times for you to really believe that I am a non-smoker. That's not who I am anymore. And so that changes what her day-to-day life looks like. That changes what her perception of herself is. And so I think a combination of her working on changing her thoughts, recognizing her triggers, recognizing what things might come up, and having a plan for things that might just happen in life. You know, we're all going to have emotional things that happen to us, and so we have to know what we're going to do when those times do come.
What worked for me were the suggestions that Ashley gave me, the suggestions that were in the nicotine patches, the nicotine gum. It's a program. If you work the program works. However, something Ashley said really struck a nerve with me. It really stirred something in me. She said, why don't you write down every time you have a cigarette? Why don't you write down what you're doing, how you're feeling, and why you're having that cigarette? I journal almost on a daily basis. I know the benefits, and that really struck a chord with me. So I put it into action. I started doing it. I realized how much cigarettes were controlling my life. That I was waiting for my next cigarette. What am I going to do? How am I going to get my next cigarette? You know, I'm going to the kids' games and I can only stay for a couple hours. So, but the journaling really, really helped me see that it was controlling my life. And she also suggested that I start cutting back, maybe 1 or 2 a day, try to go as long as I can in between cigarettes. So all the suggestions she gave me, the support from Sarah, the nurse practitioner, the positive reinforcement, the congratulations, the kudos on making a milestone without a cigarette. I mean, it was just a really good experience. It was very comforting to know that anytime I had a question, I could just pick up the phone. It was very comforting that Ashley would call and say, do you want me to call you back in a couple of weeks? She gave me the option, and it helped me stay accountable as well.
Miss Denise has talked about journaling for her was a big game changer. She took my advice to use a journal to write down the date at the top of a piece of paper, the time, every time she wants a cigarette, write down the time, and then write down what is going on surrounding that cigarette. So is it, what does that trigger? So is it you just ate breakfast and so you want a cigarette? Is it because you had a stressful conversation with a coworker or a relative? What was it that was triggering for you? And so she really took that advice. She really did, and she has utilized journaling in the past. And so I think that was a really good strategy that fit into who she is and could really make the difference in her quit.
Less depression. I feel better. I smell more. I can smell more. That's a good and bad thing. I can taste better. I breathe better. My skin's better. You know, I don't have to buy as much perfume. And I was a closet smoker. No one knew that I smoked. So I spent an enormous amount of my day trying to cover up what I was doing. So that has been, and I'm not as nervous about when I'm going to have my next cigarette. I am more calm, which some people would debate that, but but yeah, I've noticed a lot of good positive changes. I have more stamina, you know, I can exercise more. I've told people, you need to call CIS and get into the smoking program. My sister lives in Texas, and I've been telling her, get into a program. I gave her my extra gum and mints. I said, that's not going to work. You need to get into a program. And you have to want to change. It's a lifestyle change. And people need to realize that it is an addiction. It's not just a bad habit. You have to be committed. And just like any other drug or alcohol rehab program, if you work the program, it works. Your chances of being successful are much better if you're in the program. And the people in this program want you to be successful. So they're committed to it as well.
Perfect. So people come from all walks of life and come to join our program. Some people have quit for 10 years before. Some people, this is their first attempt at quitting. And so there's really no difference as far as the success rate, what their history is. So you kind of get a clean slate, you get access to all the resources, and we are really just here to be that support for you, to give you that accountability, to give you the encouragement that you need, to get through a tough trigger time, to get through planning for Thanksgiving or Christmas around the holidays where you might be around some other smokers. And so we're here to just help you be that extra voice of reason when you're coming up to your goals. You know, sometimes it's just hard. We get in our own heads as far as the scariness of situations or the scariness of quitting. And so we're just there to tell you, look, you can do this. You can have the support that you need, as much or as little as you want. If you don't want us to call you every 2 weeks, we won't. We'll just give you exactly what you need and what fits you best for your own goals.